Hey guys, it's Dave Gass. Yesterday I would put up a video about somebody who passed and how they contacted a family member, but it was my wife's family, and she didn't want me to leave the video up, unfortunately, so I had to take it down. It was an incredible story. Anyways, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about this certain person and certain team and how they affected the rest of my life. Now, as a young kid, life was a real struggle. My whole teenage years, but even before that. My father was a locally famous musician, successful, played out 6 nights a week, and had major substance abuse problems. I think mostly drinking and some pills, but it was bad. He had a very violent temper, but eventually be, became a wonderful dad. Uh, Very smart, very philosophical person, and I miss him. He passed away a couple of years ago, but I didn't really have that father figure in my life back then. So in 1974, I was in second grade, and I got sent to Anoka, Minnesota, from Massachusetts, to live with grandparents I had never met. My mother's parents, her mother and her stepfather. And I get there, and my grandmother was terrible with kids. Terrible, terrible. They had a Scottish Terrier. Their house was immaculate, single floor ranch, brand new. Uh, she had actually given my mother to her mother at birth and moved away with the guy who became my step grandfather. He was in the military. He was from Minnesota. Very nice man. Very, very nice guy. He treated me wonderful out in Minnesota. I have great memories of laying sod with him as a little kid and going fishing with him. Uh, but, when you're not home and you're with strange people, and like if you move too fast in the house, you'd get a smack because the dog would be upset. Or if you didn't finish all your meal, you slept at the kitchen table, and that was your breakfast. That's how it was. So in 1975, my mother and father got back together. They were separated. My mother was pregnant with my sister. And we moved back to the same city in Massachusetts. But we moved. And we moved to a street that changed my life forever. Forever. It was, my father had a friend who owned a 3 tenement, which is very popular in our area. It was beautiful compared to where we lived, and it was beautiful in general. And him and his family, the guy, lived on the 3rd floor. Beautiful apartment. His parents lived on the 2nd floor, and we lived on the 1st floor. And it was a place we would have never gotten without my father knowing that guy. And that guy changed my life. He really did. So in 1975, I go to start, I believe it was 3rd grade, and I had been in 2nd grade in Minnesota. Now in Oka, Minnesota, we had short days of school. I don't even remember it. I just know they said I had a 1st grade education when I was going into 3rd. So when I got to Massachusetts and was going to be in 3rd grade, they kind of didn't put me in 3rd grade. They put me in like a remedial special thing to catch me up. They couldn't believe like I hadn't learned certain types of math and certain types of spelling. But it wasn't my fault. It was just their school system. I think it was more farming community and all that, so the days were shorter for the kids. It was hard to remember. And soon enough, a couple months, I ended up in 3rd grade. And that tenement where we lived in that street, it changed my life. It was on that street, 5 or 6 of us, all the same age, and we were like brothers. I lived there 16 or 17 years along with everybody else. Their families owned their houses, and we were renters. But, I mean, sports. From the minute we woke up in the morning, music, and then there was a wall at the corner. We all sat on the wall every night. The whole neighborhood knew it. It was a quiet neighborhood. And that was like Comedy Central. All we did is break balls. That's all we did. Even some of our fathers would come down and hang out because it was funny. It was that Massachusetts sense of humor type thing. But my landlord at that tenement, he changed my life. Let's just call him Big Daddy. He was a big kid. He was successful, and he was a perfectionist. And that's how I got addicted to lawn care, the Boston Red Sox and sports, and always having a clean house and a clean car. It was from Big Daddy. He was like a second father to me. And that was back in the days when somebody else's father could hit you if you screwed up. And it was no big deal. My father would say, well, you did something wrong. If Big Daddy hit you, you deserved it. And his 2 sons were 2 of my best friends. And great athletes. And it wasn't like these kids nowadays getting dropped off at their house at every bus stop and all that crap. We used to walk 4 miles to school, and some of those walks, no matter what the weather was, it was the most fun. I'm talking throwing each other over bushes, like hedges, and just horseplay and the whole bit, and developing personalities. So, we were together all the time, those 5. Well, it was 5 or 6 of us. And we were like stepbrothers. I mean, 16, 17 years is a long time. Well, my family was obviously the poorest on the street, and everybody knew it. But people liked us, and my father was actually very popular in the neighborhood. I'd have baseball games. I'd come home. My friends would be hanging out with my father, listening to Led Zeppelin or whatever, and joking around. My father was a character. Anyways, Big Daddy, he had 5 season tickets to the Boston Red Sox. Pretty much his kids, their whole lives and more. Section 25, in the blue seats, right under the roof behind third base, the visitors' dugout. Great seats. You sat, and it was like he had like the first 5 seats of the row. Beautiful seats. So he had 5 seats. He had him, his wife, his 2 sons, and his daughter. But his daughter never went to the games. But he would never say to me, hey, you want to go to the Red Sox? He would just, Sunday morning, they would leave around 10 o'clock, and he always had brand new cars. Spotless brand new cars. And he would knock on the door and he'd say, come on, guys. We're going to the Red Sox today. And every Sunday, he had Sundays and holidays, his tickets. And I'd wait like, I was a little kid. But the first time he took me to Fenway changed my life and started this obsession. I'm with them. I don't understand anything. I'm in 3rd grade. I'm poor. I've never been to a restaurant. I've never had anything. And we walk into Fenway Park. And I don't know if he did it on purpose. He probably did. When you go to Fenway Park, the first time you walk into that field, you want to walk up right behind home plate. Because what you're going to see in your face is the beautiful green monster. And all that lawn. It's just that view in my head changed my life. So he walks us up the tunnel, and I'm in awe. I don't think I've ever seen a Red Sox game in color. They used to be on channel 38. Boston, and we just had static. You know, you couldn't even tell what it looked like. But I'd listen to on AM radio and whatnot. They got me addicted to sports. And Big Daddy would go out there and play baseball with us and football. He was great. Anyways, he takes us to the game, and he treats me like one of his own. Because like I said, his daughter never went, so he would give me that ticket. It was the highlight of my life back in 1975. Well, if anybody remembers what 1975 was, it was one of the most incredible Red Sox seasons and World Series ever. It was the Jim Rice, Fred Lynn rookie year, and they played in the World Series all the way to Game 7 against the Big Red Machine. Cincinnati Reds, that's the Carlton Fisk waving for the home run, the whole bit. And Big Daddy got me addicted to the Red Sox, and he used to take me every home Sunday, every holiday. And he would buy me Fenway Franks and pretzels and soda, and he'd treat me like his own. And if I did something stupid, he'd give me a whack. Nothing crazy, but he'd let me know, or he'd grab me by the back of the neck, or slap my leg, whatever, like he would to his own kids. Treated me just like his own kids. And you could tell he knew he was doing good. And that I appreciated it, by him taking me to the Red Sox all the time. And on the way home, if anybody remembers, if they're from Boston area, there was Howard Johnson's all the way on the highways, each side. And it was like a drive. You'd drive off the highway in, and it was a gas station. It was like the only restaurant like that ever. Now I think they're all Burger Kings. He took me, after every game, he would take us to Howard Johnson's. First time I ever went to a restaurant. And I think, he would just tell me order what his kids order, which was always, a cheeseburger or grilled cheese or whatever. But it was the greatest. It was the greatest. And 75 season, Fred Lynn, who was my favorite player, he wins Rookie of the Year, Most Valuable Player, and a Gold Glove. I don't think any rookie has ever done that. And him and Jim Rice basically came out of nowhere. It wasn't like nowadays where these rookies when they're out of high school. And, Louis Tiant and Bill Lee. It was incredible. So the first year I stopped watching the Red Sox, they're in the World Series. But Big Daddy, all along the way, he treats me like his own kid. When it's time to cut the grass in the yard, I'm out there with his kids cutting the grass. Back then you had the hand shears. We were on our knees cutting the edges. He kept everything to a T. And I learned that from him. Back then he had a black Chrysler Cordoba. Oh my God, this car was beautiful. He would drive home from work. He was a manager at a tire chain, or general manager. And beep, beep, he would toot that horn, and me and his two kids would run outside, wash the car, have the tough stuff for the white interior, clean the wheels, shine them up. Every day we cleaned his car. And the big thing was I always had to sit behind him. It was a two-door car. I always sat behind him on the way to Fenway. And if I kicked his seat by accident, oh yeah, I was getting a whack. And I understand it. He was a perfectionist with his stuff. I slept over there. He treated me well with his kids. Oh, it was great. And that's how I got addicted to sports, to lawn maintenance, to wanting to be successful, wanting to own a house. This is our third house, all three brand new construction. But it's amazing how that person made such an influence in my life, as well as the lady across the street, my best friend Rob at the time, one of my best friends, his mother. She knew we had no food and struggled, and there was a situation where my father got in trouble. She made sure we had food to eat. Wonderful woman. Wonderful, wonderful woman. And all my friends, their parents they all looked out for me, and it was great. I've been thinking about it so much lately, how different my life would have been without that street. That street, it changed my life, and also that street is where my wife fell in love with me. We used to work on cars at my friend Rob's driveway. I mean, we worked on cars, changing motors in one day, transmissions, the whole bit. And there was no YouTube. We taught ourselves. And my wife would come with her friends from a different part of the city. And she used to see me clowning around with everybody. And even though we knew each other in high school a little bit, that's where she wanted to date me and fell in love with me. So that street just changed my life. And when I drive down that street now, it's crazy. When I think about it, in my head, it looks, everything's big, big, big. When I drive down that street, it's basically only 2 blocks. It's so small. But back then, everybody's house seemed so big. And, you know, you had like the neighborhood, we had 2 of them, 2 neighbors who hated all us kids because we would play stickball in the street and street hockey. Street hockey and stickball, that was our thing. We didn't call it stickball. Can't remember what we called it. But we wouldn't use a stick. We would use a wiffle bat with electrical tape on it and a tennis ball. And you'd have like one, whatever you call water cover would be home plate, and another one would be second base, and this fender of this car was first base, and this one was third. Oh my God. We used to have so much fun. But the street hockey, that was a good one. We'd play side to, across the street, curb to curb. And we'd just put cans or something for the net, and we'd make up our own rules. And once again, we would play sometimes with a dead tennis ball or sometimes with a hockey ball. And it would usually be 2-on-2, and each side have a goalie. Or sometimes it would be 2-on-2 with one goalie, and we'd have a turnaround line if we couldn't get a second goalie. But man, Big Daddy in that street changed my life. And once again, my friend Rob's mother. I look back at those times, and sometimes even though my family was screwed up, it would be nice to go back there for a week and play those sports. These kids nowadays, this is a beautiful neighborhood. There ain't no kids, they don't hang with each other. They all get off at different, the bus stops at every single house. So ridiculous. So they're near each other. And I don't see any kids playing sports outside. Zero. And we've been here almost 23 years. Whereas us, 8 o'clock, I was on my Huffy BMX bike miles all the way to the park, and with my glove, and just waiting for a bunch of other kids to show up there from anywhere, because there was projects around there and stuff, and play baseball. And I would still have sometimes 2 games that night. I was never home. I'd eat the park lunch, which was usually a bologna sandwich with an apple and a milk. I never had any money. I started working 13 or 14 at a bakery, bagging bread and cracking eggs. Oh my God. 6 days a week for $30 a week. Cash. And you had to chase the guy for it. Me and my friend Rob and this other kid, Dave. But yeah, that was 1975, a year that totally changed my life. It was 75 until the next 16 years or so. Unfortunately, we couldn't pay our rent. We owed Big Daddy so much money, and we had to leave because his son was getting married and he was going to take over the first floor, and I totally understood. We were so far behind in our rent, but I wish I could tell Big Daddy how he changed my life, but he has passed, and I'm still a big sports fan, and it's all because of him. And I hope, if you're an older person and you run into young kids that hang with your kids or whatever, don't be afraid to help them out. Be a second parent to them if you can. Although this day I wouldn't hit anybody's kids. God, not nowadays. But back then it was totally accepted and it was totally fine. And if I ever told my father, oh, such and such his father whacked me, or well, you must have did something wrong. That's what he would say every time. Never got mad at all. Even though he was not a father to hit you. He never hit me. But just a little story. Sorry I took down yesterday's video. Dave Gass out. Rest in peace, Big Daddy.